once in a lifetime thing. So you're willing to spend and spend and spend, right? Huh? He's going to tell his audience he's behind on taxes and use the money to get married instead. Who, me? That definitely didn't happen. I mean, you can argue it did because you're an idiot, but you'll never have any evidence of that because it didn't happen. And why did you say it like that? Why didn't you say you told your audience you were behind on taxes, but you used the money to get married? You worded it wrong. Why are you so confusing? Why are all my trolls so slow? It's so hard to even have try to figure out what they're saying because they can't even type right. Like you didn't even phrase it correctly. There's people, yeah, it did. Okay, it happened, huh? Okay, so prove it right now. Can you prove it? Can you prove that I said that I was behind on taxes, I need some money to pay them, and so I raised money on a stream, and instead I put that money towards a wedding? Can you prove it right now? No? So you're a fucking idiot. You made it up because you don't like me, so you just made up a narrative. There's no way you could prove it because it didn't happen. No one could ever prove it. You're a moron. There's nothing else to say about it. All you can say, I made an accusation. Yes, you did. Now, where's your evidence of said accusation? Well, I don't like you. I don't need evidence. That's what I deal with every day. Like, literally. Well, we just don't like you collectively, so because of that, we don't need evidence. We just believe that you're a bad person. Yeah, but that's not actually, evidence of anything. You're just stupid. You just showed that you're part of a mindless groupthink mentality of people who don't like me. You're just, again, terminally online, always connected, plugged-in losers who mean absolutely nothing to anything in society. What are you talking about? And then on top of it, he sent me $5. Not only to phrase it incorrectly, have no evidence of anything, and then he sent me $5. Oh, man. Why do I sound so hurt? I'm not hurt. I'm sad. You have to understand, this is the state of humanity in 2025. We have an entire generation of people that their entire life has been plugged into the internet. So they actually think that it's important. They actually believe that the whole lolcow culture is important, that this crap of online drama is important. They actually think that it means something and that it doesn't. You have to understand, my generation, we don't give two fucks about you and your nonsense. It doesn't affect us in any way. Like I said, you could sit there and make up as much as you want about me online every day and just talk about it till you're blue in the face. But at the end of the day, my streams do well. My content is entertaining to an audience that likes to support it. When I go offline, my life is great. Everyone still takes my money. It doesn't matter what the nonsense you've created online, this bizarre alternate reality narrative that you just want to believe, that only you and your terminally online group believe. No one cares. No one of any significance cares. Do you get that? I guess not. It really doesn't occur to you. That no one cares at all. Nor should it. We're living on a different plane and a different level. You're living on this weird virtual online only existence of nonsense that doesn't matter. It doesn't in any way. It doesn't affect normal people who actually go do real things in the real world. It's just sad. You look at humanity, you're like, dude, this is people. This is a group of people, right? They're real. Swamp Dog Clyde did a $2 super chat saying, "This is the content I enjoy." Well, you know, everyone enjoys different things, and more power to you. Everyone has the right to like or dislike what they like or don't. But the thing that gets me is the zaniness of the narrative and stuff. Like, you actually created that narrative. For those people who don't know what's being referenced here, so in 2019, I was not doing well. All right, in 2019, my content was struggling because I was transitioning from being an on-demand content creator to a full-time streamer. I've been streaming for 2 years. I felt like I hadn't really fully hit my stride and wasn't very confident in it. I know my setup sucked. The visual quality sucked. Like, a lot of stuff was bad. So I was struggling to make ends meet. Financially, things were falling apart. Okay. And at that time, I was in a bad way when it came to things like paying my federal taxes and stuff. I wasn't even like raising enough to consistently pay it. I was barely making ends meet. I had so much debt that I would be raising funds on a stream and immediately that money would go to pay a bill. And if I didn't pay the bill, I was in trouble. So if I'm immediately just paying every bill as soon as the money comes in, how do I have money to pay things like my taxes and shit? It was awful. All right. So particularly, I do remember in 2019, and not that I'm proud of this, of course, there were bad, things that I had to do. Like, oh, I'm doing a stream with $1,000 goal. And if I hit the goal, I'm good off and I can pay my taxes and everything's good. And if I don't, I'm kind of hard up and I don't know what's going to happen. And it was kind of emergency stream, need help kind of a deal. Terrible that ever happened. I hope to never ever have to do something like that ever again in my life, right? So what happened was I did streams like that in 2019, admittedly, for sure, 100%. And then at that same time that all that was going down, all right, my parents contacted me and said, "We really want you to visit us because we're getting older, because we're starting to get a bunch of health problems. We want to spend time with you while we still can and before things like fall apart." Right? And who knows? Like, the way that they were saying it was, it's not the end of the world, but at the same time, we want to have a nice time together with you and your fiance while we still can. Because we don't know if our health turns or whatever, we're getting to that age, and they were getting notified that they were having some medical problems and things. And so they really wanted me to go out there. Okay. They paid for the entire trip, right? 100%. 100%. And I said that to everyone, like, we're going out there to hang out with my parents because that's what they want, because, they're saying, it's an important trip to them. It's an important time to them, right? That's how I said it to everyone. I was transparent in my content. Listen, I'm going on a trip for a week. I'll be back after said trip. My parents are 100% paying for that trip. Now, what everyone didn't know, because I purposefully kept this a secret, is Kat and I were actually really going out there to get married. This actually wasn't originally part of the plan. We wanted to get married. We were already engaged, but we had no clue when we were going to get married because we didn't know what we'd be able to afford or anything. And after my parents contacted us about this and said, we want to do this trip, we all just started kind of brainstorming. I'm like, well, yeah, well, wait a minute. Coming back to Connecticut, we could maybe just do something small time, but hey, at least we could get married and we could spend some time with the family while we're there. We could have kind of just a few days together because we knew we couldn't afford a honeymoon or whatever. We were already financially distraught. How are we going to do a honeymoon? But instead, let's just spend a few days in Connecticut together, do some fun stuff together. There's an awesome zoo, there's shopping, there's food, great Italian food and stuff. So it'd be a nice time. And then, we could come back and, get right back into the swing of things, working and try to get out of the financial situation I was in. So that's what happened. And we went, again, my parents paid for everything. It wasn't a super expensive wedding because it was all done at my parents' house with the justice of the peace and some very close-knit family members and friends. And that was it. And we went and had a big dinner, which I told you about. I told everyone about this the moment that I came back. It was a big thing, telling everyone what really happened on the trip. And so all that happens, right? And then immediately the trolls, of course, say, "Oh, well, you see, those fundraisers you just did that to pay for the trip." Well, no, I didn't. I literally wouldn't have went on the trip if it weren't for my parents paying for it. And in fact, I even had revealed this too, which again, bad history of me revealing too much personal information. I probably should have never revealed this. But, my mom and I had this very serious conversation about my financial problems and things that were going on at that time. Keep in mind, this was 6 years ago and all this is resolved now. But basically, she wanted to send us on a honeymoon. She wanted to pay for us to go on a honeymoon. And I said, Mom, what's the point of my wife and I going on a honeymoon if we come home and we can't pay our taxes and then we lose our house? Right? Like, what's the point of that? I said, if you're going to give us money, we got to put it towards the thing that's important, keeping our house. So if you're going to offer a trip we can't accept, if you're going to offer us some money so we can put it towards the most important things like keeping our house and paying our taxes, then I'll accept. And that was a discussion we had, and she was basically very upset. She wanted us to go on a honeymoon. I'm like, well, what do you want me to do? That's not the life I'm in right now. You know, the federal government ain't going to be so happy to know that they're not getting payment from me, but then I went on a fucking trip, you know? You know, that's not how it works, right? So my mom ended up giving me some money. I used it to combine with the money that I had raised on the streams with the money my mom had given me. I paid the taxes, and the taxes got paid, and I was good. And then you all know the story. I went through a bankruptcy and all of that, and now I'm in a much, much, much better position. You know, never going to go back to that situation ever again. But, you know, learn my lesson, the stupid mistakes that I made, and that's that. So ever since then, the narrative has been, oh, well, Phil scammed his viewers. He did all these fundraisers for say to pay his taxes, but then he went to Connecticut. He spent all the money on a trip to Connecticut to get married. That didn't happen at all. I literally didn't spend $1 of my own money while in Connecticut. $0 were spent. All the money was spent on the taxes, and then the more money that my mom gave me was also spent on the taxes to pay them all off, so that I was good. I was even. So again, they made that up. Now, where's their evidence? Oh, well, the evidence is that you've lied about other things. That's not evidence of this. That's like saying, so someone once did something bad. That's just evidence that they've always did things bad forever. You can just infinitely accuse them of anything you want forever because you think that they did something bad once. No, that's not how life works. That's not how life works in reality, in fantasy, in a court of law. That's not how it works. Like, nowhere does it work like that. Only in your broken, twisted, terminally online fantasy world of circle jerking detractorism does that actually like hold water. Normal people don't think like you because normal people aren't stunted. They didn't grow up online. They actually did things in real life. They needed intelligence to do them. You know, it's the problem with this generation. The generation of the stunted. It really is. It's pretty sad. This is the world we're growing up in. Everyone around me is like half retarded. They can't even do basic shit. And there you go. So then people bring up the 10-year plan, right? So the 10-year plan, it's just great. It's amazing lore that these people have fabricated. The 10-year plan is lore that people have brought up time to time again from this visit that I had to Connecticut. During the visit, when I was talking with my mother about we can't go on a honeymoon, my mom said, well, listen, if you're really in this financial distress and all this is going on, you have to find a way to get yourself out of it. You can't just be stuck in it forever. So we need you to figure this out. And I said, well, we can have like a 10-year plan. And what it could be is within 10 years, I'm systematically taking steps to get myself out of the realm of online content creation and transition myself into some kind of an offline job or career so that I'm not beholden to people on the internet anymore. And I don't have to worry about, oh no, you know, trolls are saying something or doing something and it affects my livelihood. Okay? That's what it was supposed to be. So I was working on that. I was actually taking a look at different things to do, you know, jobs that I could possibly take on. And then COVID happened. And COVID changed the entire world. COVID 1,000,000% changed everything. All the opportunities and things that would have been disappeared. All the jobs dried up. Careers and things are gone. Everything's gone from the United States, outsourced. Anything that would have been of value. Like, just take a look around here at what happened with places like Boeing. You know, a place where, oh, that's a good place to work. Not anymore. Boeing mass layoffs, lost contracts, everything fell apart. You know, even thinking, well, you can do retail. Retail's awful now. Retail is a joke. Retail, they don't even educate anyone who even works at the store, including the management. It's completely unprofessional. Everyone's just completely disposable. Everyone's mistreated. Not even consistent hours. Can't get health care. It's just a joke. So anyway, after COVID happened, I looked at the situation. I was like, I don't even think it's feasible. I actually think it's a good thing I didn't jump out of content creation and go to an offline job, because I probably would have lost my job and I would have been completely screwed, because I would have been out of the content creation loop. People wouldn't have cared about my content anymore because I would have quit. I would have actually shot myself in the foot. And then on top of that, like I said, I went through a bankruptcy. I got myself out of the bad situation. I'm much better now. So the point of the 10-year plan was, well, if I'm stuck financially and the content creation's not working and I'm really screwed, get myself out of it. Well, I'm out of it. And it's 6 years. In fact, I would even argue about a year ago I got out of it. So in 5 years, I completely got out of the situation that was supposed to take me 10 years to get out of. But the bonus is I'm still doing what I love. I'm actually more successful at it now than I ever was. And I'm actually happy and healthy, which actually wasn't even part of the plan. Now I weigh less. I'm actually getting fit. I'm having a great relationship with my wife. Like, everything is good. So you say 10-year plan. No, I already beat the 10-year plan in 5 years. I cut 5 years off of it and I'm good. I'm on the right path. Everything's going well. So what's your point about a 10-year plan? Exactly. You have none. You're an idiot. You live terminally online. You circle jerk each other in your community to think, oh, see, Phil had a 10-year plan. He failed. No, I exceeded it. I actually beat it. I beat the plan. In 5 years, I'm better off than it would have been if I had actually quit doing content creation and got a retail job. I'd be making way less than I make right now. I'd probably be miserable. I'd be stressed out to my limit, barely making ends meet. Instead, in 5 years, I'm much better off. So what is your point? Again, no one ever has a point. Because now that I just said that, now they'll move on to another thing. Well, let's talk about something else instead. But wait a minute. We just talked about your narrative about me spending tax money on a trip. That's completely blown out of the water because you have no evidence of it. Then you brought up the 10-year plan. I just completely got rid of that. So what's next? Well, on to the next, right? Because this is how they live. This is literally how they live. You know? Donald actually made a good point in chat too. He says, so you see these people, they bring it up, right? They all want to bring this nonsense up. And they do. So then all of a sudden it gets addressed. They get completely destroyed, like always. So then they either say it's boring. Why is he bringing this up again? Because you did. Or they just move on to the next topic. You're right. They're eternal losers. The only reason that people act like this is because they have no life. They literally, their entire existence is right now online, trolling someone. They have nothing for themselves at all. No positivity, nothing to show for anything. So all they do is they crap on others. They're insanely angry and jealous at everything around them in the world. So they have to lash out at those things to try to make themselves feel better. Bring down everyone else because you're not happy. Listen, I've been there. I told you guys when in the 2000s, that was me. 100%. I've admitted it. When I was in my 20s, I hated my life. I thought that everything was going the wrong direction. I thought that I wasted all the time that I'd spent in school, first of all, which was a lot of my youth. I was sitting in school going to classes that were completely worthless and got me nothing and went nowhere. I put myself into a bunch of debt going to college, which I thought was a complete scam and waste of my time. The jobs I had, I hated. Okay. The only thing I really had for me was competitive Street Fighter, which that I was getting burnt out on, didn't like. Like a lot of things were just going the wrong way. So I became an online troll. I started trolling people in the Street Fighter community and acting like a jerk. And I 100% now, as an intelligent, mature adult, regret that time. 1,000,000%. I've publicly apologized for it. I've privately apologized to certain people who I actually really were mean to back then. And they've accepted my apology, which is amazing that they did that. Very big of them. And I've moved on. 100%. I've moved on from that life, and I'm now a happy, positive, constructive person. I don't need to dwell on the past because I'm past it. The problem is a lot of people out there who are these online troll communities, they're in that level. They're in their 20s. They're angry at life. They're upset. Why can't I afford a house? Why does my job suck? Why are these people online get all this stuff? I don't like them. So now I'm going to crap on them all day, right? That's not a good way to go through life. I wish those years that I squandered being an online troll, I wish that I was doing something good for myself. Really, I do. I wish that I was working out. I wish that I was actually doing like more positive, constructive things rather than me just sitting there being angry at people on the internet all day because they were doing better than me. Stupid. You know? Really. Okay, let's see here. By the way, I got another $5 troll super chat. Thanks. I'm not reading it, but I'm going to accept your money. I mean, I could not accept it. I can't, it's a super chat. I can't even like send that back if I wanted to. Thanks. Let's see here. See, here's the thing. Someone tipped $2. He says, so you've reached the back in my day and kids these days part of aging. I remember Howard Stern made fun of the prior generation, then had a realization moment. He became like his parents. I remember he used to make fun of the older generations for being out of touch. I think everyone has that moment, or everyone should have that moment. When you look back at your past and you realized how immature you were and how stupid you were and how you were like knee-jerk reaction, emotional. And now that you get older, you mellow out and you get more mature and you get more wise and you realize there's better ways to handle things and you don't always have to be a jerk. Like I think everyone has that moment. And to some extent, I'm going to agree with you here. I think when Howard Stern matured and became more like his parents, he got boring. Is when you don't care about him anymore. It's like, dude, you sound just like your parents, and that was who you always said was bad. Well, listen, number one, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't sound like my parents. I don't. I really, my parents and I never really saw eye to eye on many different things. And, the way that I don't sound like my parents, but I definitely agree. Like young Phil was this kind of like raging constantly, always upset about something. Life is unfair, kind of a mentality. And now it's more like, I've gotten older and I feel like I don't want to do the kind of content I used to. Like that's the other thing. Well, Phil, if you said sexual commentary and made racial jokes and did all this stuff, you'd be more entertaining. Yeah, I'd also be an asshole. I'd be an immature, loudmouthed, over the top asshole, which I don't want to be. At one point in my life, that's what I was striving to do because that's what I thought people wanted on YouTube. But I've been around for 17 years. I've laid the groundwork and there's enough tenure there and there's enough experience there. People don't need to hear me be like that to be relevant. I don't have to be some idiot to be relevant. A lot of people do. A lot of people have to be loudmouth blathering idiots, just screaming at everything to be relevant. I don't. I can be chill. I want to be chill. There are times to get upset. There are times to get full of energy and stuff. You know what I'm saying? But not all the time. And certainly not extrapolating, over exaggerating just for attention. And that's something that I think I've earned. 17 years of my life that I put into content creation that I don't have to be an asshole anymore. I got another $2 tip. What would you say was your worst year of your YouTuber streamer career? I mean, it all depends on what you mean. Are you talking financially? Are you talking emotionally? Are you talking psychologically? There's so many different things that happened in 17 years that, you could argue were things that sucked. When I moved across the country and all of a sudden it seemed like public attitude toward me completely flipped. That was the height of this is how you don't play. And it seemed like everyone just wanted to flip their attitude about DSP, who previously everyone liked. Now all of a sudden he's like the whipping boy, the villain of the internet, everyone laugh and point, Then there was the whole, adpocalypse / year where my personal life fell apart, my business fell apart. That was terrible, right? There was the whole, the whole bankruptcy stress and shit that I went through when I was going through all kinds of crazy stuff at the same time, like getting identity theft was going on while I was trying to go through a bankruptcy and shit, which is all fucked, all kinds of stuff. But The thing is, I don't want to dwell on things that were bad. I want to dwell. My hair is so bad today. I want to dwell on things that are good. I would rather think about the things that are good in my life than dwell on the things that went wrong, especially because thankfully for me, I don't relive the same problems over and over. No, that's a good thing. Little Squish, how are you? What's up, Little Squish? It's nice here today in Washington. Right now, it's only 70 degrees in my office. It's actually super cool and nice. It might get so cool I have to close the window a bit. We'll have to see. I have my fan on low